A lot of people refer to millennials as one of the most lost, confused, and unhappy generations. There are studies showing that they're less happy than other generations, but it is hard to predict deep, lasting happiness when a lot of millennials are still quite young. But at least we can see where they're headed. And I'm sorry to say it, but millennials, based on the research, you are being led to a life of unhappiness by a bunch of disingenuous liars and pathological altruists who disguise their bad advice as support of tolerance and freedom. Now, I'm a big fan of freedom, but I don't want to go into anything without being educated about it first. I think I should be free to go skydiving, but I should probably talk to an instructor. And of course, life is a bit different and more complicated, but when it comes to things that make us deeply happy, the majority of people are pretty similar. And we're lucky to live in a day and age where we have research and data that has surfaced, giving us guidance on what leads to a fulfilling life. And the life supported by that research is very different than the glamorous one a lot of us may picture. I'm sure many of us growing up remember the phrase, white picket fence and a dog named Spot. It was always used as a derogatory term for a lifestyle deemed ordinary, dull, and conventional. But before this hip generation came about, for a very long time, that idea was not derogatory at all, but in fact, a dream held by many people, and for good reason. People had that dream because the traditions displayed in it were, quite frankly, the best way to historically have a fulfilling life. But today, things have changed a bit. Being ordinary is just about the most horrific thing on the planet for hip millennials. So instead, we dye our hair, shave its sides, pierce our noses, riot in the streets, or join a cookie-cutter indie band to make up for our extraordinarily ordinary personalities. In fact, we're so afraid of what is deemed ordinary or conservative that being traditional is now kind of the unordinary. Being traditional may as well be the new punk. And at the moment, I'm hoping that punk makes a comeback because instead of finding meaning and freedom in our rejection of tradition, what we found and what we will find is a maze of confusion and unhappiness in it. This isn't just my opinion, it's backed up by facts. In Charles Murray's book, Coming Apart, he dedicates a whole chapter to what leads to a happy life. Now, he gives a pretty fair definition of the word happiness. He distinguishes it from fleeting pleasure and would define it as consisting of lasting and justified satisfaction with life as a whole. So no, you can't do a line of Coke before I ask you if you're happy and then claim you're truly fulfilled. Happiness is linked to things we deem important and the effort we put into them. Murray lays out some of these things as family, vocation, community, and faith. I'm going to simply boil this down to tradition. Now, let's look at the research. One thing we always link to tradition is gender roles, the feminine housewife and the masculine breadwinner. But what does this do for our happiness? Well, in GSS surveys highlighted in Murray's book, housewives or stay-at-home moms reported the highest happiness out of anyone in any vocation. To expand on this, the American Sociological Review has also published a study showing that relationships with more egalitarian gender roles were tied to lower marital and sexual satisfaction for women. And research from psychologists in New Zealand found that a man's level of benevolent sexism was directly correlated with his overall life satisfaction, and that women are happier in relationships with these sexist men. Despite popular belief, biology does not stop at the neck. Of course men and women are different, and of course different things are going to make them happy. But what about another concept, like marriage and the nuclear family? Based on many studies, marriage itself is the most reliable happiness indicator. So while some people may have an awful experience, finding lasting deep satisfaction is likely worth that coin toss for a lot of people. Pew Research has even shown that 43% of married respondents said they were very happy compared to 24% of unmarried individuals. And when kids enter the picture, millennial men get even more happy and fulfilled. There's also a few extra benefits to this. Married people tend to earn more money, live longer, and according to the CDC, have an overall better health. Now, one of the biggest taboos in traditional lifestyle is being a slut. We've all gotten the lecture from our parents, grandparents, or some old man on Fox News waving their finger at us saying promiscuity only leads to bad things. But recent popular media like Vice, BuzzFeed, and Cosmo want you to embrace your sexuality and freedom. Have fun while you're young. But who's right? Is there merit to that old age tale? Well, I'm sorry to ruin this for you too, but yes, there is. Keep in mind the distinction between sex within a romantic relationship and recurring casual sex. We're not talking about star-crossed lovers here. We're talking about the chick or bro that is the neighborhood bicycle. Now, instead of empowering these people, I think we should look at what the research says. People who are promiscuous are more likely to suffer from depression. And for women, random sexual behavior like having sex with a stranger at a club is, according to researchers, linked to disorders like psychosis, manic episodes, substance abuse and dependency, dissociative identity disorder, as well as borderline narcissistic and antisocial personalities. In fact, it can be partially diagnostic of such pathological conditions. Being a slut can be a symptom of far worse issues. As for people who are simply sluts outside of having a disorder, well, they can be impacted by psychological and medical consequences as well. Of course, you increase your chances of unwanted pregnancy and risks of getting a sexually transmitted disease with multiple or many partners. Then, of course, there's research showing that people who have had more sexual partners are less happy within their marriages, especially women. The old lecturing church fogies win again this time. Now, another one of these crazy little traditional images we have in our head, along with the white picket fence and the stay-at-home mom, is the community and the church. Good old Joe Smith goes down to the bakery, says good morning to old lady Susan, and meets his friend Bob to pick up a pie and get ready for the community barbecue. It sounds nerdy, it sounds old-fashioned, but it made people freaking happy. I don't know about you, but I'm not particularly fond of my walks in the city where everyone gives you suspicious looks or stares at the ground with their headphones in. And based on the research, it's not just me. There's an unbelievable link between community and happiness. Back in my old province of British Columbia, the government of Victoria did a happiness index partnership. And what did they find? Well, their community's high levels of well-being were linked to strong social relations and feelings of connectedness to their community. There are plenty of studies that back this up, showing that even the weakest ties to someone, like saying hello in the morning, impact our overall belongingness. Now, these are just a few examples, but you'll find that the rest of the things that lead to happiness are classical traditional things like hard work, honesty, and decency. Basically, picture the attitude of a pre-Powers Captain America, just a genuinely decent person, the old traditional vision of a man. This lifestyle leads to happiness in love life, work life, and overall fulfillment. But don't take my word for it. Do the research yourself. Delve into this stuff. I just don't think people should go into life blind with these silly visions that all tradition is stuffy and for old people. What's scarier is we're not just ignoring these traditions, we're doing the complete opposite of them. Men are being taught to hate themselves for their gender, to serve and grovel to women and be weak, when that doesn't make either gender happy, and women are being taught to work 9 to 5, despise men, and drink red wine every night until their ovaries dry up, and then are surprised it leads to regret. And there are plenty more positive things being stomped out of our lives. In high school, we had no duties, deadlines, or repercussions for terrible actions. We were all told we're special little snowflakes, regardless of work ethic. We were told by the media that lots and lots of sex is empowering. We were told in popular culture that traditional lifestyle is stuffy and boring. All these things that were deemed sacred before and gave life meaning have lost all of their meaning, making us undoubtedly lost along with them. We've jumped off the shoulders of giants in favor of our own supposedly inherent superior knowledge of the world. Tradition typically exists for a reason. Sometimes it can be silly, I'll admit, very silly. But there are a lot of cases where it's simply tradition because these things are tried and true. They have been passed on as knowledge to later generations to help them out. Yes, just because there have been crazy traditions in the past doesn't mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater and just embrace deconstructionism. We need to get this idea out of our heads that our ancestors, grandparents, and parents don't want us to have fun when they suggest traditional behavior. In fact, us being happy and having fun is exactly what they want. But sometimes we don't know what will make us happy. There are lots of people who never find lasting happiness, and a lot of us will spend most of our lives trying to figure it out. And we have no idea what the hell we're doing. But with the combined knowledge of research teams, psychologists, and our dear lecturing grandmothers, at least we have a small hand to guide us in the dark. Now, you make up your own mind about what you want to do with your life, but I think it's unfair to not have the information out there. Look into this stuff. And millennials, why not be different? Why not try embracing a bit of tradition? If you enjoyed that video and you want to see more, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe below.